Today, I want to spend some time with you to discuss the benefits of having a program management office within your organization or securing dedicated program managers for your government contracts. I worked on a project once and someone described a PM's role as a conductor of an orchestra. That always resonated with me. A conductor, by definition, brings a unified vision to the music. Program managers do just that. They bring structure when there's a bit of chaos. You ask how? Let's describe some of the responsibilities and value add a program manager brings to either an organization or specifically a government contract. The important services PMs offer are being a change agent, implementation management, maintenance and oversight, and lastly, oversee compliance and risk. Program managers are accustomed to change. It's what they do, what they are hired for, and the more seasoned PM you are, the more experience you have in this area. Change is inevitable, and in order for a company to be successful, they need these individuals in place. A change agent champions change, whether that is advocating for new processes or influencing others to change in strategic direction. As a change agent, PMs have to be effective networkers and skilled communicators to get buy-in from their audience. As we all know, most individuals are a bit resistant to change. PMs need to be able to tailor their communication depending on the stakeholder. For example, when communicating with senior level executives, you should be succinct and always solution ready. Whereas when you are working with business stakeholders or otherwise executors within a program, the communication style should be more direct and intentional, oftentimes detail-oriented. Part of being a skilled communicator requires being an active listener. Oftentimes, the scope of a contract is determined by executive leadership with the big picture in mind. However, the responsibility will be the executors or the business representatives to implement that vision. It is the PM's responsibility to listen to all impacted members and find solutions that work for that subset of individuals. The PM should also advocate for those that may not have the ability to get the attention in key areas. The PMs can do this by reporting risks and issues back to the sponsor, client, directors when gaps are identified. An effective PM should also take it a step further with their change agent responsibilities and always lead by example. No one likes it when someone is simply barking orders at them. A PM should be able to lean in and roll up their sleeves and walk the walk to advocate for that change. If the program manager is not supporting the change, it will less likely be adopted. The PMP enforces the requirement for continuous education in our field. PMs should always be analyzing the newest process, methodologies, and technologies to be beneficial to an organization or contract. What better way for an organization to measure if a new and improved process or product will work than to have someone that has managed such a variety project. They know firsthand what went well and what doesn't through their observations and bring those lessons learned for future efforts. If I were to rank our services, I would say oversight and maintenance is one of our biggest responsibilities as PMs. It's always a big deal when the contract is awarded. Celebration occurs, but then what happens? After the initial transition phase, the contract will then go into O&M. This is a critical phase of the contract because this is when an organization relies on building past performance in order for them to receive more contracts. Organizations must maintain a great reputation with the agencies they are doing business with to stand out in a saturated market. It is the PM's job to manage in accordance with these principles: scope, time, and budget. Sounds simple, right? As part of the O&M phase, the program manager must always have these three principles top of mind: I sometimes refer to these principles as levers, because when one is manipulated, the other two will also be impacted. What does that really mean? Here are a few real-world examples that you all may relate to on a program and/or a contract you have previously supported. The first scenario, the client defunded a contract line item number at time of award, which ultimately affected the resources you had to support the effort. For this exercise, people will be translated to money, i.e. that budget. That's not to say PM should not be compassionate and consider resources as people. Since the budget was reduced, the PM has to think creatively to be successful with the limitation in resources. Should the PM work everyone 10 times harder? Absolutely not. What are the other levers that can be adjusted? In this example, the PM worked with the sponsoring agency to evaluate if anything in scope can be eliminated or delayed. This is that time lever. The client stated the final deadline was set and we had to deliver by that time. So what did the PM do in this example? They broke down the work in smaller iterations in order to utilize the limited resources effectively. Since timeline and budget was defined, the only other lever that could be adjusted was scope. My next scenario includes there's a new version of a system that will be rolled out by the vendor. Let's say it's a big upgrade to a CRM your company uses. This change would impact thousands of users, and the team was not prepared to support this large change. This happens so often in organizations now that we are becoming so dependent on vendor products. We are at the mercy of the vendor when it comes to upgrades. In this scenario, the scope is defined, accept the upgrade, and roll it out to the impacted parties. The time is defined because we don't have a say when the vendor releases a new upgrade, so neither scope or time can be manipulated in this example. The only other lever that the program team can change is budget. For this scenario, the organization needs to react quickly and throw more money to resources to help successfully implement the solution. During the O&M phase, the PM is constantly evaluating and refining these three principles until the close of a contract or a project. Let's now visit the implementation side of PM services. Look, we all know contracts come in the blink of an eye, and sometimes that means smaller organizations are in the stage of recruiting talent for those contracts. If you have experienced PMs within your organization, they can oftentimes wear many different hats because they have spent so much time working closely with subject matter experts in their fields and can cover down to execute on tasks during that transition phase. They also have an innate ability to look at the scope of a contract and glean what they need for it to be successful by identifying the number of resources, the type of resources, and manipulate scope and timelines to adhere to the contract requirements. Immediately at the onset of a contract being awarded, the PM should develop the WBS based on the scope of work and then start to build out their project plan. The plan will become the program team's holy grail to ensure work is being completed timely and all deliverables are successfully met. It also aligns all resources to stay on track and assigns work based on the team member's skill set. Creative visionaries and PMs will oftentimes clash. These big thinkers will come to the table with grandiose ideas, sometimes unrealistic expectations and timelines. And PMs are wired to think through all the details and risks involved because they immediately are thinking about all the implementation steps to see the vision to success. Both parties will be required to get out of their comfort zones and listen to each other in order to come to a middle ground, which in many cases result in successful execution. The final service that no one ever likes to deal with in a program or organization is compliance and risk. It's the service that is the most dreaded. What are you doing to be proactive to control the things that could go wrong? Who thinks this way? The PM does. Within the compliance side, the PM's responsibility on contract is to ensure the team is adhering to all the contractual requirements. They should be familiar enough or seek expertise with complying with the industry statutory governance. This can include having familiarity with ISO, International Organization for Standardization, NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, CMMI, the Capability Maturity Model Integration, and other regulatory requirements. Another area includes risk management. This is instilled in a PM early on in their careers. It's a major component that must be understood for any PM certification. Risk is the ability to be proactive to ensure nothing bad happens. So the PMs always maintain a risk registry and continuously monitor risks to report to the appropriate stakeholders. I hope you enjoyed hearing all the benefits PMs can offer your company, and you too make the decision to invest in such talent.